Hey, what's up my writing friends? Welcome back to my AuthorTube channel. I am Autumn Ashley, and today, I don't really know what today's vlog is going to be. I think it's just going to be me just talking about my story and catching you up to speed. We're still going to be talking about that shiny new idea, but I do think a lot of the things that I said on February 11th, so much has changed since then because it's now March 10th. A whole month has passed since I had filmed that clip. There's been a lot that's changed in how I want to approach this story. So I think we're gonna have to take a little trip down memory lane in order to get to the present. And I think it's important to understand that your process will change and the way you want to go about your story will change the more you write and the more you get familiar with your story. As of today, I am sitting at 15,272 words and 5 completed scenes. I know back in February, I believe it was February 17th, I had a 10K day where I sat down and I had only planned to write a couple thousand words. I had a few ideas that I just wanted to get out. I sat down to start writing and I really got in the zone. I was in a really great headspace. So I was like, we're just gonna keep going. We are going to write our little hearts out until we can just get it all out and just the word vomit onto the page. I think I wrote for about 8 hours that day. It was bizarre. I literally did nothing but write for an entire day. I even met up with a couple of my writing friends and we did some writing sprints together in the afternoon or in the evening, and it was so nice. It was so nice to actually just sit and to write. So I was really able to get a lot written. It was actually a little over a 10K day because I think I had started around 2,000 or 3,000 words and then I ended around like 13,000 or 14,000. So I had written a whole lot in that one day. In that whole writing, I learned so much about the story. So far, I had not did any kind of outlining other than a couple of paragraphs to just kind of summarize the story. I ended up writing 5 scenes. I actually have 6 scenes, but one of the scenes is like a couple of paragraphs. It was an idea that I had, but it wasn't fully fleshed out and I couldn't quite figure out the scene, so I just wrote what I knew and then I moved on to the next one. I feel really good about the scenes that I have written, and having that 10K day, I think just one solid day where I was able to sit and I just wrote. I have 0 B-roll of that day because literally I was just so in the zone and I didn't want to stop what I was doing to set up the camera and everything. So we didn't even do that. I figured I could just do this and I could talk about it and talk about what these scenes were and how I felt about them and where I think that these scenes are going to lead the story and lead my writing. Each of these scenes, I tried to write them in chronological order. I don't think that they would be exactly back to back to back. I do feel like there should be some things in between each of the scenes. My idea for just writing these scenes was to get the scenes that were in my head that I constantly kept thinking about. I wanted to get them written out. I wanted to put them on the page. I wanted to not keep them bottled up in here. So really it was just a whole bunch of like word vomiting on the page just to get everything out. So we were able to do that, and I did that with 5 scenes plus a 6th scene, but it was only a couple of paragraphs. And I do have a few more scenes that are in my head that I would like to just jot down and flesh out and discovery write it. That's pretty much all we've been doing up until today. We haven't tried to do any kind of outlining method, nothing that I've done in the past, or try something new. I haven't yet. I really love these scenes and I really think that they have been helping me understand this story. Even if these scenes that I'm writing will never end up seeing publication or seeing a second draft, or if I decide to go anywhere with these scenes. But I think these scenes are a great start to that shiny new idea that I had, and I'm really happy that I took the time to write 15,000 words, because 15,000 words is a lot to write for 5.5 scenes, and I'm really proud of those scenes. I want to write a few more, but it's been a couple of weeks since I've had a chance to actually sit down and write, and so I've had a lot of time to really sit and marinate in my story and to think about where I want the story to go. And I started reading a writing craft book. I like writing craft books to a degree, but at the end of the day, you do just have to sit down and write. It makes some very valid points, and it does point out a lot of the obvious things that I'm doing in my work that I really just needed to be called out on, like having really awesome, extravagant scenes, but like, what is their importance to the story? Is it going to move the plot forward? Is it going to move the story forward? Is it going to help with the main character's internal struggles? I really enjoyed reading this book. It's Story Genius by Lisa Cron, and it made some very valid points, and it did point out some of the things that I think are some of my weak points in my writing. Now that I have these 5 or 6 scenes, 5 and 2 paragraphs scenes written, I think it's a great stopping point to maybe go back and do just a little bit of outlining and maybe discover who my character is, like her backstory, and figure out where she has come from. So when I try to write more into the story, it will make sense as to who she was and who she's meant to be. So I think now, even though I know in my last video I literally said that we're just winging it, and there's just been so much time since I filmed that video. I think it's been like a month and a half since I filmed that video to me sitting down and filming this on March 10th. It's been a month and a half of the story developing and creating. You just haven't seen that through my vlogs because I haven't had the time to do it, and writing comes first, right? So I felt like this was a good time for me to sit and like talk about all of this stuff, talk about that 10K day that I did, and that was pretty much the only big heavy writing day that I've had recently. I've written a couple hundred words after that leading up to today, but it's been a couple of weeks since I've actually sat down to write anything, and that's really because I've been reading Story Genius by Lisa Cron and trying to pick up on things that I know I'm doing wrong as a writer and things that I know I need to improve. So I felt like it was a good time to stop trying to create scenes, because creating these 5 scenes has made that idea that I've had, this shiny new idea, it's made it more clear in my mind. And so now that the idea is more clear, I think I need to sit back and do some outlining and do some figuring out of who these characters are and how exactly the story is going to come together. This is the problem with writing. There's no set way of how to do it, and there's no set method that is going to work absolutely for everybody. So you really just have to like jump in and just try whatever and just keep writing and keep pushing forward and keep learning. So that's what we're going to try to do. We're just going to try to apply all of the things I've been learning over the last month. I read Save the Cats, I think at the end of last year, but I considered it a 2022 read. I want to start applying all of this stuff to the stories that I'm writing, with Project Burning Roses being this new shiny idea. I want to take this new shiny idea and apply those things that I've been learning over the last few months to see if it's going to help improve my writing. And I do feel like it has, because it's called me out on some things. It's made me realize some of the mistakes that I'm making and kind of showing me the ways that I can correct those mistakes. So that's what we're going to do in the next few vlogs. I am excited to get to this second stage of my writing, because we've done some discovery writing to figure out the story, and now we are going to settle back and do a little bit of outlining. Then we're going to pick the story back up. Don't know where we're going to end up picking up that story. It might be a couple of weeks before we actually dive back into drafting, but I think we've made it to a good stopping point with these scenes that I have that have helped blossom this idea. So I have a very dusty new journal that I actually got for Christmas. I think I'm going to use this to help do some of my outlining, and some of my brainstorming notes are going to go in here, as well as be in a notes document on Google. And I have a few ideas of how I want to go about this outlining method. I want to incorporate some of the things that I've learned from the Story Genius, and I will go more in depth with those once I figure out exactly the things that I want to try for this story, as well as some of the things that I have learned over my 2 years of writing. I want to use some of those things and some of the templates that I have created for myself. Also, I do have another writing craft book that I think I want to also kind of use. It's Save the Cat and it uses the beat sheet. So I want to incorporate a lot of those things into creating the story, but it's gonna be a process and I'm okay with that. Something that I might also try with this story is I don't think I'm going to outline the entire complete thing 110% before diving into the story, because that was something I wanted to more steer away from with the story, since with my other project, Project Brina, that is how I did the writing. I outlined the entire thing, I drafted it, I re-outlined it, and then I wrote the official first draft. I don't think I want to go about it that way. I might outline it, like some of it, and then draft some of it, and then outline it, and then draft it to make sure it all stays connected. I don't know, we're just gonna try it. We're gonna see where it goes. We're gonna have fun with the writing just to see if that's gonna work. So far with this story, I love the scenes that I have already written for this story. They have served their purpose with the discovery writing that I have for this story. These 5 scenes, one of them is the one that takes place where my main character is meeting this ominous, creepy type of figure that is going to ultimately push the story forward, which is going to be where it goes hand in hand with Addie LaRue. She makes some type of deal. Then we're going to see how the deal is going to play out. A few of the other scenes have been scenes that have slowly started to push us towards this competition that the guardians or the potential guardians are going to have to go into the arena and fight. So I'm excited for that, but I do think that that idea, there's a car. The idea of this Guardians competition, that definitely does need to be fleshed out more, I think, before I start to write any more of that story, only because I want it to be pretty detailed and it needs to be understood in order to write it. I shouldn't just go blindly in without any rules or anything, so I'm going to have to take my time with trying to get that Guardians competition, that thing taken care of. So that's something that I definitely need to do, and I think I need to make sure I have that understood before I continue drafting that part of it. And I have some of the other characters that I need to figure them out as well. So I think we have made it to a really great stopping point with the discovery drafting. Now we're going to return back to that original shiny idea that I had and write it in here, and then we're just going to start building the story using some of the tools and some of the tips that I have been researching and just trying to figure out, and things that I think I'm making these mistakes. So when I start working on the story, I could be more mindful of those things that I know that I'm making the mistakes on. That's going to be it for this video, you guys. Thank you so much for watching this hot mess that ended up being something that my writing journey, the struggle. It'll be alright. Everything's fine. Autumn's fine. Please be sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you're not already subscribed and you're curious to see how the story is gonna go and how we're going to tackle it, go ahead and hit that big red subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.